there was a 7-point star. And that's how we conducted our ceremonies through those stories. So this particular one was never here. This particular structure was not here. There were just 7 points. When we use these 7 rounds, we were told through that Chagape story, and I'll tell that when we do the sweat lodge ceremony today. I'll tell that story here, that he was supposed to represent 7 willows from the earth and to have 7 willows for the spiritual world. That's the reason why this is red here, eh? So we took 7 willows for the natural world and these 7 willows for the outside world. When you consist this, you will see a 14 willow lodge, eh? That's the reasoning behind those 14 willows. And it always structured to this particular structure. So when we talk about, when you take a look at what you see today, if we were to take a look at the world from outer space, you're going to see it round. But our people understood it differently. That there's 8 sides to this island. And we understood that it was not round, it was very rugged. That's why was what they said, eh? So this is, I don't know what happened here. I'm going to go bypass this one. Again, this is the Buffalo Nation. That's how they, I don't know if they were looking at the sky like this. The reasoning why is, I don't have the understanding to that, eh? So again, I'm not going to get into this part. This is actually how the natural world looks to us. That there's 8 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, this is the structure that we use. And within this structure, this is the world to us, the natural world. This outer part is where we connect to the spiritual world, eh? That there's these 8 doorways. So when you take a look at this, that's how it's structured. Going back to this one here. This has a direct connection. So I want to show you a little bit. So when we talk about this particular structure, when we go back to this octagon, what an octagon, we have a language to those shapes. That octagon, eh? So this is how all of our ceremonial lodges look. That's how they're constructed. That matutsan, a sweat lodge, is constructed into this 8 side. When you look at it from outside, it just looks like it's round, eh? People try to be the voice of this, they say. The ones that don't carry the language, they say, oh, it's like crawling back into your mother's womb. There's no way you can crawl back into your mother's womb. So that's a perception. That is a perception. We can never go back into our mother's womb. So it's not the true information about our ceremonies. Our Sundance Lodge, this is how we construct it. We didn't use the structure of that, eh? So in order to have knowledge, and this is why it's very vital that we transfer this knowledge, so we don't come here with a perception, not knowing, eh? I don't know, I don't understand it. And it's through the language that we comprehend. And what we call our language, meaning why we've been inundated by other cultures, their ways, we now call that a Tipi. And that's a Lakota Nakota language, meaning a place to dwell. In our language, we call it Biguap. Even as far as Tipi poles. We have our own language to define that. We call them Aspisoatibok. Aspisoatibok. There's a story behind that. And how we set up these lodges, somebody started making their own perception. Well, this first pole talks about obedience. This one, this next pool here, talks about kindness. That was not ours. That's made up, man-made. How these lodges were structured was with the constellations of how we connected to that spiritual world. That is our way as Nehilwak, as the Cree people, eh? So the things, you got to be very cautious because they can become very confusing. That's why our elders say we need to learn our own way as Nehilwak, as Cree people. We need to learn that, not to learn from other ones. So a lot of people, they go to south and they bring these ceremonies back, and they pick that they belong to the Cree Smoya. The night lodges, we call them Nipa Matai Shichigewina. But the ones that are being transcribed and being brought to the north, they call them Uipi. Uipi is a Lakota language. So that's their ceremonies, eh? Nipa Matai Shichigewina, the night lodges. Ahatsakwaku is Shichigewin, the tie-up ceremony. That's what we call that, eh? There's a specific language to that, and the teaching that evolves around that.